Welcome back to Takeout, where we are making show adjustments on the fly, minute by minute, folks, so just hold on tight. The New Jersey gubernatorial race is currently a toss-up. That, according to a new poll from Emerson College, reputable polling outfit, it found that 43% of voters each support Republican nominee Jack Ciattarelli and Democratic nominee Mikie Sherrill. Joining me now, Sabrina Rodriguez. She's a national politics reporter for The Washington Post, and Max Cohen, congressional reporter for Punchbowl News. Great to have you both here. This poll kind of surprised me because it does not track with previous polls that had Mikie Sherrill up anywhere 7, 8, 9 points. Now it looks like a dead heat. If that's actually reflective of where this race is heading, that will be a bad night for Democrats, Sabrina.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one that we've been talking about, looking at 1 year out from the presidential election. This is supposed to be the Virginia and New Jersey gubernatorial races, both supposed to be very favorable for Democrats, just based off of historical trends. Also, just looking at the candidate profiles, Congresswoman Sherrill is considered a very formidable candidate. So for Democrats, this is definitely a moment of a wake-up call to say, wait a minute, what is going on in this race that would put this at a dead heat? Of course, we always have polls that can be a little bit of outliers, but certainly this close to the election, it's a cause for concern for Democrats.
Max, I want to play you some sound from today from Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader. He talks about someone, Russ Vought, who's the head of Office of Management and Budget. He calls it OMB, and he's pretty ticked off. So let's listen.
We will not be intimidated by Russ Vought, who's completely and totally out of control. The OMB has been illegally shutting down parts of the government throughout the entire year. And the notion that Democrats are going to be intimidated by this guy, when all he's done is send a message to voters in Virginia and across the country that Republicans are determined to hurt the American people.
Max, that reference to Virginia also meant to galvanize Democrats and other independents, possibly in the upcoming Virginia gubernatorial race. But where do things stand? Democrats say they're not intimidated, but they folded the last time we went around this track.
That's right, but I think this time is going to be very different.
It feels
at
different.
Least if you listen to what Democratic
based
leaders.
on your reporting.
Exactly. I was actually at that press conference with Leader Jeffries, and he repeated multiple times that the Democratic position is to stop these healthcare cuts from going into effect, and that it's up to Republicans to meet with them. And I think what we saw in March was Chuck Schumer and some of his close allies in the Senate Democratic caucus fold, as you mentioned, and vote with Republicans. And there was this massive backlash and uprising from the Democratic base saying, don't do this. We need you to fight. Fast forward to this month, the leaders are very aware of how angry the voters are, and I think Democrats are not going to give in this time.
And Max, very quickly, on the health care front, there are two issues. One, Obamacare subsidies that are due to expire at the end of this calendar year, and then changes made to Medicaid in the big tax bill. Have Democrats prioritized, or do they discuss the two of equal weight to them?
I think if we're being realistic, the Obamacare subsidies is something that can be worked into a potential funding deal, but Republicans are realistically not going to vote to repeal their signature healthcare policy, which just passed this summer. So that's, I see, a political talking point. The Medicaid, but the Obamacare subsidies, leaders in both parties and members of both parties realize Americans are not going to want these healthcare prices to go up, and they're trying to solve that.
We'll play for you, Sabrina, sound from last night. Kamala Harris was in New York talking about her book, 107 Days, and there were some intermittent protests. Let's listen.
I respect your right to speak, but you're not letting me speak. What's happening right now in Gaza, what is happening to the Palestinian people is outrageous, and it breaks my heart.
Take it away.
I was there.
You were there? Okay, you were there.
I was there, so I got to witness. The event was about an hour. The first night, the first, stop on her book tour as she's trying to promote this book. There's already been a lot of headlines because of comments she's made about former President Biden and his decision to run, comments that she's made about Pete Buttigieg, about Gavin Newsom, about other prominent Democrats that have kind of brought fireworks. But in this first event, really what we saw was some of the repetition we saw from the campaign trail, where we saw a lot last year of pro-Palestinian protesters disrupting campaign rallies. What was unique this time, after having been on the trail with her last year, was her engaging with them. We saw, last year it was oftentimes they'd get removed and people would cheer over them and we'd kind of keep it moving. This time she was interrupted multiple times, and she'd be talking about, you know, how she missed being home with her family while she was on the campaign trail and have to pivot to talking about Gaza. And I think what we heard from her was trying to distance herself from Biden, try and create this distance that, oh, she had a very different position. I think it's an open question for folks if that's convincing, as she was his vice president and co-signed some of those decisions. But it was interesting to just see how she navigated the multiple interruptions throughout the event.
Max, I want to play for you sound from Thomas Massie, Republican from Kentucky, lead Republican sponsor of the discharge petition on the Epstein files. Let's listen.
Well, the House leaders and some of the powers that be in D.C. are in full panic right now. Yesterday, with the election, the special election that gets us to 218, they came back and tried to get the four of us to take our names off of the petition.
They asked you that directly?
They asked some of my colleagues who are co-signers.
The three other
and they actually threatened them, and politically, not physically.
I guess we always have to attach that disclaimer now. Threats, political, not physical. What's the state of play?
This is likely going to get a vote on the House floor, with Adelita Grijalva was just elected on Tuesday.
She was on our show last night.
As Congressman Massey mentioned, that takes the number of signers expected to be 218, of course.
Unless the Republican leadership can peel one or two off.
Correct, and it does not appear that's likely, given these House Republicans have already put their name on it and taken the heat. I don't see much of a reason for them to take it off now. But timing-wise, Grijalva is not set to be sworn in until later next week, because, of course, the House of Representatives is still on recess, something that is angering Democrats who want a funding deal. So we might have to wait a little bit, but it is an expectation that this will get a vote in the House.
And Sabrina, very quickly, even if it passes the House, the Senate, the president, but it becomes a political symbol.
100%. I mean, this is not something that the president wants to be dealing with. We've seen him for months now try and push away this conversation, try and distract and focus on other things. And it has been Republicans on Capitol Hill. This is a rare moment of some of them openly breaking with the president, which is something we've seen them struggle to do since he came back to office.
Sabrina Rodriguez, Max Cohen, great to have you with us. And I will not let you go unless you grab some candy. Just understand.
All right.